Okay, I believe that it is recording.
Yep, see it. Hopefully
Okay.
it's working.
Yeah, it should. All right. Thank you, Mr. Pavlik, for taking your time out of your day. Could you please just introduce yourself and state the company that you are working for?
Sure, happy to be here. So my name is Anthony Pavlik. I work for a company called Gardner Business Media and have done so in a sales capacity, selling manufacturing media for about almost coming up on 30 years.
Awesome. And could you just touch on some of the skills that are required for your job?
Yeah, there are several. To be successful, there are a couple things I think are really big. And, communication is a two-way street. It's asking really good questions is one thing to try to understand what your customers might need from you or your prospects, but also listening is really important. So I think those are skills that can be learned for sure. Some people are born with them, other people they need to learn. I think that's a really big one, but also like following up is a really big deal. I think in my, time here, I've seen people that have been, they're really good about the meeting and then they don't follow up with the things that maybe the customer, might need or had heard. So I think being a people person is really also really, really important. You gotta like to knock on doors and maybe put yourself in some positions that aren't necessarily comfortable all the time. Walking up to a stranger and saying hello and introducing yourself. It's kind of like when you meet girls, you're like sometimes that's a little bit nerve-wracking, but it's really neat when it works, right?
Of
And
course.
so I think there's that too. And then really obviously being effective and doing what you say you're going to do, I think is really important for any kind of like retention of customers and things like that.
That's awesome. I definitely agree. I think communication is, if not the biggest thing, one of the biggest things.
Yeah.
But
And effective communication is a lot of different ways, right? Whether it's a follow-up email or it's giving them, the exact things they want and not making it simple, I think is another real part of communication. When you start talking about your products, you make it so they can understand it. And I think that's a really big part of it.
well, following up with that question, what do you need to know about your products and services to succeed?
I mean, you better know them inside and out and upside down.
Mhm.
And you got to assume your customers, whoever you're talking to, don't know who you are, or maybe they don't care, right? And so back sort of the communication is, knowing your products is one thing, but also as you start to understand how they can be applied to different things. So some of the programs I work inside of is like a lead generation program or a demand generation program or thought leadership or awareness, right? Some of those things are and marrying your products to your customers' needs are really important. That's why I go back to that big Q&A, that communication that needs to happen. In my world, it's more important to be a consultant and doing some consultative selling, which means understanding what they would build your program for you. They would build their proposal for you if you ask the right questions and then you have the right products that align. I would say that is your absolute right to go ahead and ask for that order. If you think that the program and your products are gonna meet their needs and exceed what they're trying to do.
Of course. A little bit piggybacking also off of that question. So how has professional selling changed in like the past few years, at least like within your company and within your experiences?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the one way I would address that one is it's changed a lot. There's a lot more competitors now. COVID changed a lot of things with regard to getting together. A lot of people work from home now, and that's not necessarily changed. And so, going meeting someone at their office is not as common as it used to be. Definitely not playing golf as much as I'd like to or used to be playing golf because people can't give you that much time anymore. It seems like there's more tools that we have at our disposal to communicate, but it just seems like work's getting harder and people are pulled in a lot of different directions. Video's changed. The thing we're doing right now, that's changed, obviously. In our world with so Teams meetings are important or Zoom meetings are important. But in my world, they don't really replace the face to face. So
Or
trying to get that face to face, whether it's a coffee or a meeting at an event, in the case of COVID, events just shut down for a while. Now they're sort of back, but kind of left some people behind. Some people have made some hard decisions about travel and expenses and things like that. And so getting those appointments is a little bit more difficult. People's time is truncated. So I don't ask for 30-minute or an hour meetings anymore. I ask for 15-minute meetings, and then I do little 15-minute meetings to get to the hour and a half that I really need. So you got to be really like strategic about doing that. So a lot has changed. We used to take people out for golf all the time. It's never and rarely now. And so you got to kind of pivot and be with the times, but it's definitely changed for sure.
definitely. I like how you stated about technology because, of course, we see all the advances with interaction now, being able to do this right here, a video
Yeah.
call, but the video
That's changed
call
my life,
never
Cole. I mean, I have a
definitely.
big territory, and so trying to, the cool thing about this is I can be in Los Angeles, Raleigh,
Hmm.
Charlotte, New York City, same day, except through the video. But in my
Yeah.
opinion, the reading of people is harder on the video, right?
Mhm.
The engagement, sometimes they won't even turn their camera on. And so you're kind of like, are they really paying attention? So, having that engagement with people is really important. And I think that's why I prefer that face to face, but I'm just an old school guy.
Of course, I agree that I definitely prefer face-to-face interaction over the video calls any day.
Yeah.
But so how do you prepare for a sales call with like a new customer?
Yeah, that's a good one. So, you got a lot of information at your disposal, right? You better know, a little bit more about them than and you're not supposed to know as much as they do for sure, but you better come with your questions.
Mhm.
You also better come with knowledge about what they're doing, what their products are, and how they apply to your solutions. The other thing I like to do is I try to figure out who I'm talking to, right? And so what kind of person they are. And so when I go on LinkedIn, I try to look for cues of, is this person a creative person? Is he an analytics person? And so then I line my pre-call planning up with, if he's an analytical person, I better bring some stats. I better bring some facts. And if I don't, but then there's other people that seem more dreamy and emotional. And so you better come with ideas and
Mhm.
and some things of that nature. So knowing your products is really important, but how they apply. And I think a lot of these questions are kind of overlapping each other,
Of
and
course.
maybe they were meant to, but
Yeah.
in the end, like prepping to know. And then the other thing is, like where they are, in relation to airports, all of those things, and then really doing a thorough analysis of kind of what they have, and then maybe what it will apply. And sometimes it's really important to even put together a little like, hey, this is a recommendation based on what my knowledge of you guys are. You got to check their social channels. You got to check their LinkedIn. You got to check all of those things. Sometimes it's really good to check the news of the day in their area, so you have something to open the call with, right? How you doing? Hey, I heard some things going on. If you're going to LA and you don't know the fires are happening,
Mhm.
and you don't mention it, it's kind of like your head's in the sand.
Of course, oblivious.
So that's sort of how I prepare. And then really anything, if it was a prospect, I would also look at, do we have competitors that are doing things with us that are succeeding? You better know that too, and what kind of investments they're making, so that you can make sure that they know maybe their competitor is, making more noise in the market and succeeding. It's good for them to know that. A lot of my customers really appreciate, or prospects really appreciate that, hey, like these guys are with us for many, many years. You might want to, if you want to be competitive or dominate them, it's probably really important to know that.
Definitely. So, moving forward, how does a salesperson add value in today's information age?
So, one would think that information is just out there. But like if you're an industry expert and you've spent a long time in an industry and you're calling on someone who is in the industry but doesn't pay attention to marketing and media, um, I think the way you can bring value is a couple of ways. One is you can bring them information about the market, right? What the potential is for their maybe sales inside of the market if they're trying to drive sales or create new market share or whatever they're trying to do. I think knowing the industry is really important. And you can send that along ahead of time, or you can have that prepared. I think that's important. We have some things we do to support them that they don't have to pay for. And
Mhm.
so when you're talking about value, sometimes it's editorial coverage from our group that we're going to write about your products and services in a way that an advertisement can't. And so that builds a lot of value too. A lot of times bundling programs together brings a lot of value as well. But I think it ties into the same, do what you say you're going to do, be honest. Integrity is important. That's value. That's intrinsic value, but also really being able to be polished up about what the market will bear for them so that they, show them where the opportunities are. That's a massive amount of value. I think that you could bring to the table too. But again, salesmanship is value too.
Mhm.
Showing up when you say you're going to. If you don't have answers, say you don't know, and you'll get back to them. I think that's valuable. And also really that, following up with what the statistics are or the proposal that you might follow up with and following up in the right manner. I think that always builds value too, along the way. And so I think hopefully that's an answer
Oh,
that
that is
works for you.
definitely an answer.
Okay.
And then I did want to go back a little bit. So, what are your perceptions of the prospect's knowledge?
I looked at that and I think there's two ways you can skin that one.
Hmm.
One is assume they know nothing, right?
Hmm.
Or assume they know everything, right? Now they shouldn't know as much as you do, but at
Hmm.
the end of the day, you better come prepared, right? And you better be able to talk to them like they don't know anything, like they're in third grade. And then you also can talk to them almost like they're an expert. Um, Typically, they're somewhere in the middle. They've done a little research. They've checked you out a little bit if they've taken the meeting. But I also like to confirm as soon as I get there, when you took this meeting, what problems were you hoping I could help you solve? Right. And I always ask at the end of my meetings when we talk about their needs and their wants and their objectives and their initiatives and their markets and all of that, how will success or failure be measured? Right. And so I think that's really important to ask those questions. And then I put those on the proposal so that we're both in cahoots of so someone doesn't have selective memory that they bought something and wait, we bought this to do this, right?
Hmm.
And sometimes they say, no, but we needed this. It's like, well, that's not what you said. So it's kind of keeps everybody on track.
Awesome. And then, so stepping outside of the office, how have you correlated some of these skills into your life outside the office, just in your day-to-day life?
Sure. Um, you know, I look at sales as being like everybody's in it, right? And so not everybody. I got a gym teacher lacrosse buddy that said, "Man, you're in sales, you're full of crap. You got brown eyes, haha." Right? That's the connotation. But like Cole, if you like a movie and you recommend a movie, you're in sales. If you like a restaurant and you say, "Man, we had some great pasta over here," and you're in sales, right? And so the other correlation, sales takes on a lot of life. And I was fortunate enough to play lacrosse and coach lacrosse, and those skills, some of those skills of communication and some of those things that really for following up and doing the energy, the effort, the attitude, the right attitude going into it. People can feel that. And so those definitely correlate into life. And I love the fact that sports is life, but so is sales. Very much so. You need to be able to get along with people. And the more you can do that and bring people together and help them, the more sales you're going to make in whatever you're doing. But they got to believe in you first. They buy people sales, they buy people. They don't buy things always because things break. Now,
Mm.
do they trust Cole when it does break? Who's going to be there? Can I call you? And it might be a Saturday. Are you going to answer and stand by this sale
Mm.
and help me when I need you? And I think those are those life things that happen in families, the trust, the friendships that you make. Those are all really the life things that happen. A lot of my customers, we don't talk a lot of business after a while
Mm.
because we trust each other. And then they say, hey, like in the case of a couple of days ago, they said, we need to you want this program inside, we agree, we need to make some adjustments. The budget is 200,000. You tell me what we should, and that's
Mhm.
that's 10 years of working together, but that's real life stuff. And I think if you trust your parents or you trust your good friends, it works
Mhm.
that way. You don't need all the details, right? It's I'm buying you, and I'm buying in it because I believe in you.
I love that last line, you don't need all the details because you don't. Because
Sometimes you
sometimes it
don't.
is it is just like the small things, and the small things they equate to the bigger picture all the
And
time.
you better build trust in a relationship that I'm not just here for a money grab,
Mm,
and really need to be there to help people. And if
mm,
you can help them, they're going to come back for more. I always tell my clients, I don't want to sell you a car once. I want you to buy cars for life from me. Okay. And so you need to walk back on the lot and know you had a good experience. And part of the thing I try to do is delight my customers and make them feel really special and that, I went over and above. So I promise, I under promise and over deliver. And that's a biggie. If you can do that, you're going to keep people in your camp.
oh, 100%. I definitely heard that. Always under promise, but over deliver.
Correct.
Best piece of, I want to say, recommendation that I have heard throughout all my
Why
sales,
people stay with Nordstrom,
of course.
you
And I
know?
mean, I guess following that recommendation, for my closing question to you, what recommendation would you say is critical to succeed? At least within sales. I guess we could base it off of sales, but just to succeed overall.
So I think it goes back to some of the things we talked about. It really does. Do what you say what you mean. I say that to my kids a lot, and it's really true. Like you better follow up and say what you. Otherwise, you're just some flash in the pan guy trying to get one sale. And really, sales is not about that. It's the residuals, the renewals, and some of the things, and then also really going back and trying to understand and listen to your customers is really important. And recommending those things that they're and sometimes too, Cole, it's not just giving them what they want. You have to know what they need. And sometimes recommending something that they need more than what they want, it will build really strong partnerships. And you sometimes you got to tell them stuff they don't want to hear, right? That you're looking small doing this, right? And sometimes it's really hard to have those conversations. And so the one thing I would say too is be able to communicate effectively. And one of the ways I say is, you know, I, I want to say something, but I don't want to offend you. How do I do that? And they usually open up the floor to say, look, talk to me. And I said,
Mhm.
look, you're exhibiting here and this, you say you want to be dominant in the market and you're in a little 10 by 10 in the corner at the show. Like you need to elevate your brand and elevate your presence and some of those things. And it's going to take time. You're underinvested in some of these things. And a lot of my customers or my coworkers, they don't want to have those tough conversations. But at the end of the day, your friends, it's not just yes, 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 sure, sure, sure. It's a
Definitely.
lot of times it's really having those uncomfortable conversations that pull the friendship and the relationship forward. And so there's nothing different in
Mhm.
sales. You can't say it to everybody. You got to read your audience. But at the end of the day, just be honest,
Mhm.
right? That follows you around. And
Mhm.
so your honesty and your integrity that follows you around, you better have that. And I think that's really, really important to
I love that. I couldn't agree anymore. I think it's
have.
very important also. And I really appreciate the conversation because I learned a lot throughout this interaction.
Awesome.
A lot, basically, I don't want to just say in sales. I learned a lot of life things right now through this conversation, and I really
Well,
appreciate your
the
time.
the older I've gotten, Cole, the more it's important for me because it can't die with me. So
Mhm.
I'm always trying to pay it forward. And if I've had success, any monkey could do that. You know what I mean? I think work ethic's a big deal right now, and I think that's a massive differentiator. I think if you can outwork people, Tiger Woods was a great golfer and he did have skills, but he outworked everybody. Michael Jordan too, Kobe Bryant too. And so sales is nothing different. You need to be committed to it for sure, and you need to treat it not like a job. You have to treat it like a career. And if you want to be good at it, sometimes it's Saturday, sometimes it's Sunday, even when they're not paying you. And you need to invest in yourself and believe in yourself. And if you do, and you hook up with a really good product, you're gonna be good. You'll be good.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I appreciate all the time that you spent, and at least for what it's worth, the one thing that I took away from this whole thing is that it's not about making the sale, it's about making the friendship. And it seems like making the relationship last as long as it can, or just be as fruitful on both ends, is the best interaction that you can get. Either being the salesperson or being the client, as long as you guys have a good interaction and have
Yeah.
quality communication where there is no discrepancies, on either end. And
And you know,
definitely,
really the last thing is if you're passionate about what you do and it doesn't feel like work, man, that's a really great career. You
awesome.
know, and that I would do this. I mean, they pay me and I earn it, but at the end of the day, like there's days I would be like, I'd do this for nothing, you know, because I really enjoy the people I work with, the things I do, the group I work with, the people I call on, and the travel I get to do, and some of that. I'm fortunate, and so sometimes, you know, that comes with it if you work your butt off, you know.
100%.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
You bet.
Well, I'm
I
gonna,
wish you a lot of luck. I hope this project goes well for you.
oh,
And
this,
send me a graduation announcement.
oh, 100%,
Okay.
100%.
All
But
right,
I'm
pal.
just gonna pause the recording. Let me just check real quick.